Hi there. Welcome to Faith Over Fear podcast. This is your host, Karen. I hope you're all having a good day, a blessed day or evening, wherever you're listening from. Thank you so much for joining me on this podcast. Today, I'm excited because I will be discussing the second book I have chosen to discuss on this podcast, which is from Sarah Jakes Roberts. The book is called Woman Evolve. Break up with your fears and revolutionize your life. And it's just a brand new book. So I was led to read this book. She is very insightful, and as you know, she is T.D. Jakes' daughter, and she and her husband have a ministry together. So I'm just going to read first from the front flap of her book, which reads, "No matter how much you accomplished or how far you are from even getting started, if you're still alive, there is an even more powerful, purposeful woman waiting to take root and produce fruit within you. The only thing required to transform the seed of that woman into your identity is the environment at your heart, soul, and mind. Create. The key to revolutionizing your life begins with you. You have to take the necessary steps, dig into the thoughts and fears that may be limiting your presence so you can experience the fullness of your existence. You have been divinely placed in the world because of the unique gift God has given you. When fear, stress, or monotony dare to stand in your way, your faith has the power to begin the revolution of your soul." That is powerful. That is, again, taken from the flap of her book. Now, chapter 1 is titled Rescue Eve. And I'm just going to read a few places where I highlighted and then go on to discuss my thoughts and what I got from this first section that I'm going to be discussing. So on page 3, I highlighted the subtitle is called "You've Got Some Eve in You." Value, promise, worth. Aren't those the words we all need to hear? Especially when we find ourselves in our own inevitable Eve moments. Haven't we all had a moment when we knew better but didn't do better? Let's be honest, our inclination to choose a path that pushes us further away from our moral, ethical, spiritual, financial, physical, relational, or emotional goals is not a foreign concept. Yet, Eve has been vilified for making a similar choice, one we all can relate to. Now in page 8, I've highlighted every woman will have to fight Eve's fight to manifest God's vision of filling and subduing the earth. Eve had to fight to see where she fit in the world. She had to fight to look past her mistake and to stay connected to God and others. Eve had to fight like the world depended on it, because it did. Imagine if we stopped minimizing our fight and recognized that no matter how small or minuscule it may seem, if it's keeping us from being better, it's a threat, not just us, it's a threat to the world. It's not just low self-esteem. It's not just a little anxiety or depression. It's not just bitterness. It's a threat to who you are called to be on this earth. When you do not become better, the world cannot become better either. Eve made a mistake, but she had proper perspective on how important it was to course correct. I've been on a mission to rescue Eve because she's been penalized for what she did, but not recognized for how she showed up to fight back. And when I read this, I really admit, this book really, I did not see Eve in that way, honestly. In the way that Sarah describes her and how, she, her thinking about how, yes, we have all had Eve moments. Very, very true. So as I was reading it, my reflection came, I started thinking about the blame game. And that's where I wanted to just discuss tonight. And where I'm getting that, or where my thoughts were led to that, I was led to think about the fall. That moment when Eve gave in to temptation. So I'm just going to read from Genesis 3, and starting verse 1. Now the serpent was more cunning than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, Has God indeed said, You shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, We may eat the fruit of the tree of the garden in the midst of the garden. God has said, You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die. Then the serpent said to the woman, You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. So when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it was pleasant to the eye, and a tree desirable to make one wise, she took of its fruit and ate. She also gave her husband with her, and he ate. And the eyes of them were both opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves coverings. Okay, so just further down is when God comes, he's walking in the breeze and looking for Adam and Eve, and he's calling them. And he said, so Adam says, I was afraid and I hid from you. God says, and he said, Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree of which I commanded you that you should not eat? Then the man said, The woman whom you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I ate it. And the Lord God said to the woman, What is this you have done? The woman said, The serpent deceived me, and I ate it. So right there you can see, of course, we know that Adam blamed Eve and Eve blamed the serpent. So in my reflections and my questions for you to think about, as I was thinking about, what are we blaming others for? What is the blame game in our life?